All right, Malcolm Nance is an MSNBC national security analyst, former senior chief petty officer in the U.S. Navy. And Congressman Ted Lieu is a Democrat from California who now holds the rank of colonel in the Air Force Reserves. Congressman, let me begin with you. Do you have a reaction to the chief of staff for the president saying essentially that a Democratic colleague of yours had violated the kind of sacredness of the grief of Gold Star families?
Thank you, Chris, for your question. Let me first say that in addition to LaDavid Johnson, 3 other service members gave their lives: Staff Sergeant Brian Black, Staff Sergeant Jeremiah Johnson, and Staff Sergeant Dustin Wright. I don't know what the president said or didn't say to their families, but I think one of the best ways to honor their sacrifice is to have the Trump administration explain what happened in Niger. How can we make sure this doesn't happen again? And why do we have 800 U.S. troops in that country? And that's why I wrote a letter today to the chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee asking for a hearing. And personally, I don't have a problem if a member of Congress wants to be with a Gold Star family when the president calls.
Malcolm, to the congressman's question, I mean, John Kelly said today we're at war. And Jim Mattis said war is war. I don't think anyone knew that we were at war in Niger. And the fact of the matter is, ISIS has now splintered, or ISIS-affiliated groups, or in this case, AQIM, have splintered in so many groups in so many places. You can imagine a scenario in which U.S. forces are actively fighting and being shot at in 60, 100 countries around the globe.
I believe the numbers, 146 countries around the globe were carrying out military training missions or special operations assistance missions. What you're looking at in the Sahel region, that sub-Saharan, just between the Saharan Desert and the Trans-Sahara, is a training operation that's been going on for years now called Flintlock. And the French have been carrying out combat operations as part of Operation Barkhane. What we've done is put assistance forces, special forces, ODAs. We have a drone base in Niger that's been there for some time. It was a $100 million expansion of a base in Agadez. And we have been assisting these nations to stop the formulation of al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb and some of these new fledgling groups that are splintering off from Boko Haram and ISIS coming out of Libya. These missions have been going on for some time. What you've usually seen was attacks on hotels and terrorist attacks with U.S. forces generally responding with their sister forces in these local areas. What you've seen now is someone has gotten intelligence, saw our operations, ambushed us, and this is going to be the future. Everyone's going to be emboldened to come find us now.
Congressman, are you confident about this administration's stewardship of what is this now sprawling global war on terror? It's not something they started. It's something they've inherited. But they've expanded in many cases. And they're talking about the possibility of military action in other theaters as well.
Not at all, Chris. Look, this administration can't even deliver safe drinking water to Puerto Rico, a territory we control, and no one's shooting at us. So, no, I don't have confidence. And keep in mind, Senator John McCain said this administration is not being upfront about what happened in Niger. It's been over 2 weeks since those attacks, and I find it disturbing that the Secretary of Defense still doesn't have all the information that he needs to know what actually happened.
Malcolm, what do you make of the president having what he calls my generals out there today in the midst of what has, I have to say, been one of the most depressing and awful news cycles I can remember in a long time?
Well, it's awful principally because we're at the 2-week point since this ambush happened. There was as the Washington Post was reporting, there was a letter of sympathy that was drafted up by the executive office within 24 hours that the White House would not put out. For someone who's, I've been on the battlefield, as America's senior NCO, right? I've been out in that area where you've had to respond and get out and get your casualty assistance officers out in the field and back to the United States and repatriate remains. What I don't understand is why did they feel this incident, which they would have known about within 5 minutes of the information reaching Africa Command or the local command out there through the critical communication structure that goes right to the president, why did they feel that this was just nothing special?
Malcolm Nance and Congressman Ted Lieu, thank you both for joining me tonight.